It's an event aimed at getting your kids to jump, jive, and read. The interactive event features live music, dance, and general silliness. It's coming up Saturday, March 10th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at the Ramada Convention Center in downtown Eau Claire. It's free, and for more information, you can visit www.eauclairejazz.com. And joining us more this morning, Patty Horecki. She is from Eau Claire Jazz Incorporated. Also, Sandi Stanton from Connections of the Heart. Thank you for being here this morning. Patty, start off by telling us about Eau Claire Jazz Incorporated if people aren't familiar with your group and what you do.
Okay, well, it's a nonprofit here in the community. It was formed about 4 years ago to help coordinate the Jazz Festival as well as to link people with life. And the festival is coming up at the end of March, and one of the events, we've tended to try to do some events throughout the month of March to get people warmed up for the weekend of festivities, and that's what this event is intended to be.
Before, or is this the first year?
No, we've actually held it for the last 4 years, but it has taken on a different kind of life every year, and this year has really expanded. We've got a lot of partners involved, and through those partnerships, we've engaged groups who will actually be making the morning happen, and it will involve some dance team folks as well as community volunteers from Memorial High School and other community members.
And talking about bringing the community in here from Connections of the Heart, what is that exactly?
It's my business that I use for brain coaching. Helping people of all ages understand how the brain works and how it makes our life richer and what we can do to benefit it.
And talking about the brain, obviously a very music-oriented event that we have coming up, Jump, Jive, and Read. When we talk about children's brains and music, how do they benefit from that type of exposure?
It's a very rich experience. The brain appreciates pathways that we can provide for our learning experiences. And particularly with music, listening, moving, and laughing lock learning. So moving together and having it be a joyful experience, which it sounds like it's going to be, is going to make it helpful for children's brains.
And we're going to tell you some more specific details about the event coming up in our next segment. But Patty, when you created this event, were you kind of thinking about how you can best impact children? You obviously had children in mind when you created it.
Absolutely. They're all about how can we create positive experiences in this community for young families? How can we help families learn how they can engage their children in a very inexpensive way? This does not cost any money, not only to come, but also to have experience with your kids, engage them in music and movement. And so some of what will be happening that morning is truly just showing them how they can do that.
And talking about music and movement, you know, all of this together, Sandi, why is that so important? How does it really help develop a child?
The brain develops from bottom to top, from inside to outside, and back to front. And each experience that a child has from the time they're born creates brain connections, and this is a very rich way to do that, and particularly in family interaction. The social piece is very important. And
when we're looking at an event like this, you mentioned the social aspect, you know, they're gathering together with other children, but is there any advice you might have for parents, grandparents at home where they can kind of mimic help with that brain development and bringing music into their child's life?
Definitely, yeah. We do something called Music in the Brain at the Family Resource Center, where we have children, toddlers, and their parents dancing together, moving, clapping. Any muscles are used. It gives a richer experience for the brain, and the important part of that is attachment. Some parents have children beginning Suzuki classes as early as 3 and 4 years old, and they do that along with that relationship, the attachment, and it's a fun thing, so that really does make it a richer experience.
Does it take a lot of time, or is this something where if you have 15 minutes at the end of the day, you could do something fun?
It's something that you probably could do all day long. You know, when making up silly songs, kids don't care if you can't carry a tune. You know, just making up a song about cooking or letting the kids, it's really wonderful to have the little ones playing in the cupboard, you know, taking out pots and pans. It doesn't cost anything. You know, their attention, and they learn from watching your face, and that interaction from face to face is so important. It's so much more helpful for them than screen time.
Sure, fascinating. Well, we are going to Jump, Jive, and Read coming up after the break. We'll share more details about the upcoming event. Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning we are talking about the Jump Jive and coming up this Saturday in Eau Claire, and we have Patty and Sandy here telling us more about the event and also the connection in the brain with the young children who are attending. And Patty, tell us, we have 3 different kind of segments of this, obviously Jump, Jive, and Read. What will each one involve?
When they come at 10 o'clock, the time frame is from 10 to 11:30. We invite families to come down at about 10 o'clock. There'll be some live jazz music playing, contributed by university jazz students, and then they will register and then went to some different groups, and this there will be some university dance students as well as the Key Club students who will then once they're in their group, the first thing they're going to be doing is some large motor movement, and that's the jumping. As we envision that they're going to come in, they're going to hear the music, they're going to be really excited. So we'll do some large motor movement, which will be guided by Tony Pol Sorensen, who's a retired dance instructor from the university.
Okay.
And then after about 5th, there'll be what we call the jive portion, and that will be where they actually get to learn how to make music with their voices and clapping, doing some shoo-shooing and rapping and whatever it is they might like to do.
Whatever comes naturally, right?
Exactly. And of this within the smaller groups will be reading, and the library has been generous to contribute some books as well that will be used for that, along with Tony. And then after that, it will culminate at the end with a live performance by a band. It will be a big band who will then coordinate a reading of a special book with the library, and
Nice.
They'll be interacting as they read that book, similar to what we've done in past years. And then at the end, we'll form a conga, make our way out with the jazz band leading the way as they do in New
fun.
Orleans.
So talking
Great
about the different aspects of this, and when we talk about a child's brain, you know, Sandy, those different parts, what does that kind of activate for the kids?
It's really interesting search for another presentation. I discovered from Music in the Brain, Music with the Brain in Mind, by Eric Jensen, that harmony is processed in the left side in the pisiform gyrus. The rhythm is processed both in the basal ganglion, and tonal processing is lateralized in the right temporal cortex. So all those different parts of the brain are primed and they're pulled together, so massive connections are going back and forth between both sides of the brain and across the corpus callosum. At all of this time, it's just a really rich experience.
Yeah, and it gets them in that time, all of those parts of the brain firing. Interesting.
And then the muscles as well. Every time they use muscles, and you talked about the large muscles, and also with small muscles when they're learning keyboarding, it involves the entire body, and it sends the signals to the vestibular system. And that all becomes a package, and they can recall all of those pieces, and it strengthens, enriches, and exercises the entire brain.
Fascinating. Thinking about, too, the read part of this as well, Patty, you know, what is the value of early literacy? Why did you put an emphasis on that as well?
Well, what we do know is that if we can expose children at a younger age to different sounds and to words and vocabulary, not just what they can say, but more auditory, those are all ways, as Sandy was saying, to build pathways in the brain. And it's really to help prepare young children to have a very good foundation for continued learning, lifelong learning, really.
Very nice. And talking to Sandy, you have something called the Brain Team. I want to make sure we talk about this before we go. What is that exactly?
It's a wonderful collaborative organization. Volunteers of professional people involved in hospitals and the school district in Western Dairyland and the City County Health Department. We meet, and we're going to have a conference on bullying the end of March, which will probably be highlighted here. I believe that's already scheduled.
Perfect.
But took that training through the State Department, Wisconsin Council on Children and Families. And when I retired from my school counseling job, this became my business. So I'm doing presentations through that, and we still meet, interested in helping especially families at the young level understand what they can do without cost and without any extra effort, just in the middle of their day in special teachable moments to develop their children's brain and their relationships with their kids.
We'll look at the information one more time for Jump, Jive, and Read if you need it. More information on the website. Patty, talking about the community involvement. There's so many people in the community involved in this.
There really are, and we'll hear more hopefully in the next few weeks about the whole Jazz Festival, but this warm-up event that's involving a lot of the folks that work a lot with young children, and that would be the Y and the library and EC4T and the school district, the Children's Museum, and the Ramada is being very generous in donating the space. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, and we hope people come out and join us.
And again, eauclairejazz.com if you need more information. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.